At age 21, I was a senior at Brown University who seemed to have it all. I played varsity sports, I had a gang of smart, feisty friends, and with a 4.0, I was on my way to one of the finest medical schools in the country. Then, in what felt like a flip of a switch, it was as if an alien had abducted my brain. Suddenly, I couldn't add 2 plus 3 when I'd aced my calculus finals a week before. I couldn't get out of bed. I locked myself in my room, afraid to see my friends. It was a tailspin into a living hell, and I was terrified. In the decades that followed, I suffered from a debilitating brain disorder. I've kept this mostly secret for 40 years until now. I'm choosing to tell my story tonight for 3 things. 1, end the stigma. 2, save lives. And 3, maximize healing. Woo! That's helpful. It took me 25 years and 5 psychiatrists to finally get the diagnosis that saved my life. I have a bipolar 2 brain on the bipolar spectrum. If you've never heard of a bipolar spectrum, you're not alone. Most people do not know it exists. Yet understanding the full spectrum and the distinction between bipolar 1, 2, and unipolar depression can absolutely save lives. Here's how. Imagine you've been lethargic, unmotivated, unable to get out of bed. You drag yourself to your doctor. The doctor looks at you, sees that you're depressed, and then writes you a prescription for an antidepressant, something like Prozac. Indeed, over 70% of the 71 million prescriptions written for antidepressants last year were written by primary care doctors with little to no psychiatric training. But if you're like me, you're not depressed, you're bipolar 2, and that Prozac can act like poison for your brain. And since the suicide risk for people with any kind of bipolar is twice as high as for those with unipolar depression, in other words, people with bipolar are twice as likely to take their own lives, getting that diagnosis right is literally a matter of life and death. In preparation for this talk, I wanted to give you some accurate numbers about the prevalence of bipolar in this country. I turned to Dr. Holly Schwartz, professor of psychiatry at the University of Pittsburgh Medical School and a global authority on the bipolar spectrum, who has studied literally hundreds of leading peer-reviewed sources. According to Dr. Schwartz, as well as the National Institute of Mental Health and the National Alliance on Mental Illness, here are some stats. 1 out of 4 people who appears to be depressed is actually bipolar. There are 7 million Americans per year who have bipolar brains, and at least half of those are on the bipolar spectrum. Now, I believe that these numbers are significantly underreported because of the stigma and because of misdiagnosis. In addition, on average, it takes 11 years to diagnose someone with bipolar 2, and that's just way too long. Because in the interim, the undiagnosed bipolar are among the addicted, the homeless, and the incarcerated. Their lives destroyed, their marriages ruined, their lives lost, their families devastated. It does not have to end this way. So why is there so much misdiagnosis? When you hear the word bipolar, what comes to your mind? Most people I ask will say something like this, right? Way high, extreme mood swings, wild sprees. These people are actually articulating just one end of the bipolar spectrum, classic bipolar 1, which is usually known as manic depression. However, we now know that bipolar exists on a spectrum, as depicted in this slide by Dr. Jim Phelps. Dr. Jim Phelps is a clinical psychiatrist and the author of numerous groundbreaking works on bipolarity. People with bipolar 2, like me, do not show extreme mania. And because we don't act manic, and we do have many of the same symptoms of clinical depression, lethargy, despair, low affect, extreme negativity, We are consistently misdiagnosed with clinical depression and then prescribed the wrong medications. Why is this dangerous? In an award-winning study, Dr. Phelps and colleagues tracked primary care patients with some psychiatric symptoms, hundreds of primary care patients. They found that these people were given on average 8 and up to 27 medications. 27! The point, while people with bipolar 2 are waiting on average a decade to get the right diagnosis, for me it was 25 years, they're taking all kinds of drugs that are wrong for them, each with dangerous and even lethal side effects. In my case, doctors convinced that I was depressed gave me drugs that literally made my brain feel like it was shaking inside my skull. When I'd return to the doctors much worse, they'd think, oh, she's more depressed. Let's give her more of that drug. You can see it's a brutal, vicious cycle. But now you know that bipolar 2 is not clinical depression. It is a form of bipolar, which can respond beautifully to bipolar medications like lithium and others. So getting this right is vital because the wrong diagnosis and wrong medications can make broken brains even worse, while the right diagnosis and medications can save lives. I know. I'm proof. So I want to try to describe to you what I mean by a broken brain. I think when most people see someone depressed, they think about emotion. Oh, they're sad, let's fix their sadness. But that's not how it is for me and millions like me. When my bipolar switch flips, my brain simply stops working. It's a physical thing. Here are a few examples of the impact. There are many more. So simple, everyday conceptual tasks that I've taken for granted forever become nearly impossible. One day, it literally takes me 3 hours to unpack 2 bags of groceries. I get lost between putting away the tomatoes and shelving the cereal boxes. In constant confusion, I'm unable to sequence actions. I forget multiplication. This makes me miserable. I had 800s on my math SATs. Shopping malls and supermarkets are excruciating. There are just too many choices. How long can I stand in an aisle trying to choose between peanut butters, the organic or the not organic, the cheap or the higher priced? These decisions paralyze me, and the inability to make decisions leaves me flooded with shame and anxiety. I stopped doing laundry. It's too overwhelming to go through the sequencing of fold, sort, put away clothes. So in the kitchen, and in the bedroom, in the office, things pile up, and this chaos makes me crazy, and I'm too overwhelmed to fix it, and at this point, I'm desperate for company, but I feel too embarrassed to invite anyone into this scene, even though I'm terrified to be alone with my brain. I share these descriptions not to depress you, but for this. If you are suffering with something like a bipolar brain, I want you to know that you are not alone. There's someone who understands what it's like to be inside your brain. There's help, there's hope. The doctor who finally diagnosed me correctly was dedicated to understanding the complexity of bipolar. He had one of Dr. Phelps's books, and he gave me a simple 11-question bipolar spectrum diagnostic test. He asked me, did your first incident occur under age 25? Yes, it did. And do you have any family history of mood swings? Well, yes, my mother and my grandfather both suffered terribly. And when you were given an antidepressant, did it first seem to work and then make you much worse? Yes, absolutely. And with that, and a few more incisive questions, it took Dr. Pullman all of 15 minutes to diagnose what had eluded the medical world for 25 years. I have a bipolar brain, bipolar 2 on the bipolar spectrum. The medications he prescribed, as a result, gave me back my life. I find it hard to describe to you the magnitude of this transformation. From the utter devastation and suicidal longing of a broken brain to the absolute miracle an awesome blessing of a brain that works. I don't know why the brain breakdown happens. Not even the experts seem to. As I write in my new memoir, Brainstorm from Broken to Blessed on the Bipolar Spectrum, the brain is as vast as the universe and equally uncharted. In years to come, I imagine we'll learn how rudimentary our understanding was in the early 21st century. In the meantime, we have a lot of work to do. So you want to help, right? Yeah. If you've never experienced a broken brain but know people who are suffering, and chances are you do, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 1 in 5 people are living with a mental health challenge right now. 1 in 5. That means in this country alone, 66 million people, right? But I want you to know that you cannot pull these people up by their bootstraps or cheer them on with your joie de vivre or shame them into, just do something already. You know, these reactions are fully human and understandable, but they will not help. Here's what can. It's what I'm calling your EMT, Emergency Mental Health Team Toolkit. More on that in a second, okay? So we are presently experiencing a pandemic-induced mental health tsunami. Suicides are spiking. The US Surgeon General last year, in an unprecedented report, declared a mental health emergency among our youth. Teenage girl suicide attempts went up by 51%. 1 out of 2 young people are experiencing anxiety or depression. 1 out of 2. So we're in a high school tonight. For those of you in the audience, look to your left, look to your right. One of these kids is likely suffering. So how can we help? Okay, here's the Emergency Mental Health Team Toolkit I promised you. 1, reach in. Don't expect them to reach out. They won't. You make the phone calls. You knock on their door. 2, listen without judgment. Don't try to fix it. You can't. Simply accompany these people with your love and presence. They feel isolated on an island of despair, and you're showing up as a lifeline. 3, just do it. Okay, this is for those of you who want to do something. Here's what you can do. You make the appointments. You take them to the doctors. You pick up the kids. You do the laundry. You choose the peanut butters. These activities are Herculean for your friend. You do them. And finally, 4, create a posse. This is going to be too much for any one person to do, and you're going to need support so you don't burn out. And here's the good news. The community of love and compassion that you build as a result will be a blessing for all of you. So now, my emergency mental health team friend, when you reach in instead of running away, and you show up with your love and compassion, you are going to be a huge shame eraser. As the author Terry Chaney writes, the disease feeds on shame feeds on silence, and I will not be silent anymore. I would add that shame feeds on the stigma. There's still a massive stigma against mental illness in this country, and people feeling the stigma don't seek the life-saving help that they need. So I posit that the stigma literally kills. So what we end up with is this vicious cycle of silence, shame, stigma, back to more silence, shame, and stigma. Brutal, vicious cycle. So your showing up is going to help bust this vicious cycle. Your showing up can save a life. For example, if your friend is too ashamed to go to a psychiatrist or take medication, as I was for decades and so many are, please tell them this is not their fault, right? If they had diabetes, they'd take insulin. If they had heart issues, they might take blood thinners. If they had lung issues and needed help breathing, they might use an inhaler. Pancreas, heart, lungs, these are all physical organs, and so is the brain. Why do we treat diseases of the brain differently? It's time to stop that. My mentor, Juanita, who finally got me to accept medication, said to me, "You don't deserve to suffer. You've done nothing wrong. This is genetic. This is physical. Just say yes to help." And because I loved and respected her, and because I was hanging a life by a thread, and because I had 2 little kids by then who needed me, I finally said yes. I wish it hadn't taken me so long. So here's what else we can all do for those of us who want to do something. I call them practices for a healthy brain, and I use the acronym PECS to help me remember. Physical, emotional, creative, and spiritual. Flex your pecs. I practice my pecs for preventive medicine with religious discipline because my life depends on it. But I promise you they are essential good medicine for anyone with a brain. Because raise your hand out there if you're not feeling any mental stress these days. Okay, one hand, I'll have what you're having. No, the truth is that we're all under a lot of stress. So the idea with the PECS is to create balance in your life and do one or more activity in each of the four: physical, emotional, creative, and spiritual every day. As the poet Audre Lorde writes, this is not self-indulgence, this is self-preservation. So here are a few of my PECS. They'll work best for you if you do what you love, okay? So physical, that means just get moving, get aerobic. Bike, hike, swim, whatever you love. As we know, endorphins are big mood boosters. Emotional connection is essential. Human beings are social beings. We were not put here to be alone. So you can even be efficient and combine your physical and emotional and go out for a hike with a buddy. C is for acts of creativity. That's like singing, dancing, cooking, painting, drawing, whatever you love. These are all brain restorative. And finally, for S, for a spiritual PECS, I am a big fan of disconnecting from technology so that we can reconnect with nature. We were not evolved to stare at screens for 8 hours a day. So going outside to some place beautiful is calming for the nervous system and soothing for the brain. And then walk, play, pray, meditate, whatever you do to help connect yourself with something larger than yourself, that's all good for the brain. I'm uber disciplined about my PECS because, my health depends on it. And my friends and family tell me that this discipline is inspiring for them and good for their health too, which is a bonus. Who knew? And this leads me to what I want to leave you with tonight. It's what I call bipolar pride. People who live with bipolar and other neurodiverse brain patterns have suffered in silence, isolation, and fear. They have internalized the vast social stigma that there's something wrong with them, and many are riddled with shame. Is this okay with you? No. So let's tell a different story now, a healing story. These people are champions. They are survivors of internal terror who have risen like a phoenix from the raging fires and emerged with qualities of character and soul that are beautiful. They are emotionally fearless friends. There's nothing you can do to scare them away that their brain hasn't already done to them. They will not leave you. They're off the charts compassionate. There, but for the grace of God, they could be on the street too, and they know it. They will not judge you. They are grateful beyond measure. And this gratitude is contagious. Because when you've been to hell and back, every healthy moment, every moment when your brain is working is a miracle. Let's celebrate the miracle. Thank you.